Welcome to the Goods from the Woods. My name is Rivers Langley, and this is the Corona Diaries episode number 98. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. We got Sam Harder is going to be here in just a moment. He's bringing with him our very funny next-door neighbor, Courtney Peterson. So they're going to be on in just a second. But first, any minute now, I'm going to be getting a phone call from two of my favorite people, two of my favorite podcasters, Neil Charles and Jim Search from the awesome podcast Swatches and Boomboxes. That I am a guest on this week, and actually a video guest. They got a video promo for my episode up now, and hey, this is them calling. Calling in now from Hollywood and Crown Heights, Brooklyn, is my friends from the Swatches and Boomboxes podcast. It's Neil Charles and Jim Search. How you doing, gentlemen?
Hey, what up? Great, man.
Oh man, it's good to see you. It's good to hear from you. I want to say, starting out, that if people don't know already about your podcast, this Halloween, I'm a big Halloween fan. Halloween's a great holiday, but this Halloween is extra special because October 31st, 2020 is the 20th anniversary of one of my favorite records, and the record that I actually was a guest on your show to talk about this week, Stankonia by Outkast. 20 years old on Halloween.
Yeah, man. That is... Time has fucking flown.
I was about to say, do we all feel old yet, gentlemen? That's
Absolutely.
But I had such a good time talking to him, and we're not even done. I talked too much, and now we're going to do a part two.
Got a part two. Oh man, you can't have too much of a good thing, and we're happy to have you back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man.
I had an incident. My laptop died. A tragic, not a premature death. I would say. They say like for dog years, it's, whatever their actual age is times 7. I think that's probably true for laptops. So my laptop was 109, and it finally died. And the only laptop that I could find that was like in my price range and what I needed in terms of storage and specs and stuff like that, the only way to get it back to Los Angeles in a timely manner where I could still commence to edit the podcast, I realized I was going to have to drive to Vegas to get it, to the Staples in Vegas.
Get out of here. That's wild.
So I to prepare for part 2, listened to Stankonia as I was cruising through the desert, and it was beautiful. So I've got even more thoughts on part 2 coming up.
Glad we could help.
Yeah. I was like, gosh, I should probably give this a listen. It was a good flavor for it, the desert. But well, yeah, man. So with this podcast, it's all about kind of calling and catching up with friends and seeing what people have been up to as far as their quarantine goes. So I'm gonna go ahead and float out my first of my 2 golden quarantine questions to both of you guys, and that would be: have y'all seen anything strange at your local grocery store since all of this started?
Well. As your listeners may or may not know, I am a huge fan. Not that I don't know how the fuck they would know this about Jim Search, but big fan of Western Beef. Wonderful grocery store located here in the greater New York City area. For $50, you can eat for 3 years. That is their jam. That is their vibe. Now, I would say one of the stranger things I saw while I was at Western Beef is there was the woman who was in line to get her groceries, or to, had a shop cart full of groceries, but had no way to pay for it.
Okay.
And was moving up the line trying to panhandle her groceries to get someone to pay for the entire cart. And she landed on this one woman who, this woman had, an answer for all of her sob story questions, because this woman was like, yeah, I just got, my boyfriend and I, got in a fight, and, I had to leave, and I couldn't find anywhere to go. She's like, well, that's not true, because you could have went to XYZ. And she's like, well, I tried that. And she's like, well, no, you didn't. And then, then they were just doing that back and forth. And it would turn into a soap opera, because we all just watched this woman just cross-examined the shit out of this other woman over her groceries.
Oh no! How old was this lady?
If I had to guess, I would probably say in her 30s.
Oh, okay. See, I was thinking that give it like 40 years. One of the advantages of being an older person is that you can just walk out with groceries, and if they catch you, you can be like, "What? I thought I paid," But I can't really. I guess you can't pull that off in your 30s.
There's I believe, in your 70s, that's dementia. In your 30s, that's being drunk.
It's one of the advantages of living a long life is you can just steal things. What about you, Neil? You're about 10 blocks away from me and not too far, so I suspect we've probably been to some of the same grocery stores and stuff like that.
For sure. For me, I would say that my experience is kind of tame. Basically, because my supermarket, if anyone out there is listening is familiar, is called Pavilions.
Oh, yes,
Which is like pretty much an upper tier of supermarkets. And they do this thing where they kind of they mark everything up. If you're not a member, like if you don't have a store card, you're going to pay like $1 or $2 more for everything in there just because. Like I feel like they do it to keep out the riffraff or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was in there shopping, and they were like a group of kids. Like you could tell that they were like visiting from like another town or something. And they went to the checkout line, and they rang up a bunch of stuff, like a bunch of chips and sliced bread and meats and things like that. And then they saw the price, and they were like, "Oh my God, we can't afford that." So they asked me. They were like, "Hey, do you have a membership card here? Can you like wipe it for us or whatever?" And I was like, "Sure, that is not a problem."
Yeah, that's gas points.
Right. So then I went over, I swiped my card, and then they saved like a good $20, $30 or whatever it was.
Wow.
And then the manager kind of looked at me and was like, he didn't say anything, but you could see in his eyes like he wanted to say, "Hey, you can't do that." But I did that.
Yeah.
And then the kids were like, "Oh my God, thank you so much." Like they weren't asking for me to pay for it. They just wanted to get the discount. So I gave them the discount. Right. And then as I was walking away, they were like, "Hey man, I really appreciate that." And they went, "Wakanda forever." And at that moment, I felt like Chadwick Boseman, and I was like, "Holy shit!" I felt like the Black Panther for that simple moment right there. Just for 2 seconds.
Were these white kids?
Yes, they were.
Oh no!
Okay.
Oh, no. I mean, it's pretty dorky either way, but boy. Yeah. So for those listening that don't know, that Pavilions it's essentially the fancy version of Vons, which is the Southern California Safeway.
They're owned by the same company,
right?
Yep.
And that one in particular,
it's like Gap and Banana Republic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then that one in particular, the one right near your place is it has the Panda Express, so it's even fancier.
Yep. And the Starbucks.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's funny because usually the cashiers at most normal grocery stores, they just have a membership card that if you just ask them, they'll just scan to keep the line moving, because it's insane if you're being paid minimum wage to give a shit,
Mm-hmm.
So
like before they would have those cards like to just swipe you in or whatever, I would just make up like the long-winded, just like, you know what, this is my phone number. Can you try my phone number? I know I have a CVS card. God, and then they're like, all right, fine, just fuck it here, So.
Yeah, I still the Winn-Dixie in Auburn, Alabama. I've still never gotten a discount card. I always just punch in my friend's parents' number from childhood. I still remember it, and I just punch that in for Winn-Dixie. So
I use like at Rite Aid, I use my parents' number.
Oh yeah,
and I can't even tell you the amount of time I've gotten free shit.
yeah.
Like it just rings up all zeros. They're like, "Yeah, you're good to go. You don't have to pay any money." Thank you, Mom and Dad.
Well, so I'll ask you guys the other question in just a second, but I did want to share kind of the top story, at least the one that came across my transom a couple days ago, and I wanted to bring it up to y'all because I knew we would be talking on a Zoom call, and this is a little story about a Zoom call. Specifically, this comes from your neck of the woods, Jim, and your former neck of the woods, Neil. New York City.
I know where you're going.
I know too. I do.
The New Yorker has suspended reporter and author Jeffrey Toobin for masturbating on a Zoom call between staff members of the New Yorker and WNYC Radio last week. Toobin said he did not realize his video was on. Now, listen, guys, I was, to paraphrase Todd Barry, I was really excited to talk to y'all, but not that excited. You know what I mean? So his quote is, "I made an embarrassingly stupid mistake believing I was off camera. I apologize to my wife, family, friends, and coworkers," Toobin told Motherboard Magazine. "I believed I was not visible on Zoom. I thought no one on the Zoom call could see me. I thought I had muted the Zoom video," he added. Now, he said Zoom so many times that I almost think Zoom maybe paid him to apologize like that.
It's like, I was talking to a friend about this. It's like, given as much time as we have spent over the, we'll say, 6 months of like, you've learned how to use Zoom whether you wanted to or not, right?
That's the thing.
So like
we're comedians. This guy's a fucking reporter. Like, how do you not know? I know.
And I guess how do you not know? And like what? And what I also appreciate about this too is that like, at first he's like, "I thought my camera was off." Nah, I'm sorry.
Right.
Like, hey, I didn't think you could see me jacking off to the quarterly reports.
Well, so my favorite little detail is what they were actually doing for what the Zoom meeting was about, because it wasn't just any boring day-to-day Zoom meeting. Two people who were on the call told Vice that the call was an election simulation featuring many of the New Yorker's biggest star reporters, and Jeffrey Toobin was supposed to be playing the courts. They were doing an election simulation where like one of the reporters was playing Donald Trump, and it's like, okay, well, how are we going to handle it if Trump does X, Y, and Z on election night? And then somebody was playing this, and Jeffrey Toobin was supposed to be the guy who, if this ends up in a situation like the year 2000 where it goes to a recount and all that stuff, Toobin is supposed to be, the courts, I guess. And so I think he thought he had more time, is what I'm saying. I think he thought they were going to play out the entire scenario of election night and it wouldn't be thrown to him until after that. But then they were just like, "Hey, Jeff, you're on," and he was just in another window, just going to town.
Sounds like he was committed to the part. My God.
Yeah, it's beautiful. To be a fly on the wall when it's like, all right, now let's hear what the Supreme Court has to say, and then the window just comes on and he's just going to town, taking himself to lunch.
I wonder if there was a hung jury. Thank you. Wow.
So the people that they interviewed spoke on the condition of anonymity, noted that it was unclear how much each person saw, but both said that they saw Toobin jerking off, and that is how it says it in the article. I didn't write that. The two sources described a juncture in the election simulation where there was a strategy session, and the Democrats and Republicans went to their respective break rooms for about 10 minutes. So that was when it happened. Was like, all right, we're going to go to break real quick, and then his window just popped on, and it was like, whoa, hey now. He went to break early.
This sounds like the worst Snickers commercial ever. Like,
having a rough day.
It's awful. I mean, first of all, you just can't wait, because there was another counter article where people were mad because they were like, "You're masturbation shaming him." And like, really? No. How about it? He's just dumb. No one has a problem with what you do in your private life.
Right.
But can you not fap at work? Can you not do that?
That's what I'm saying.
It's just that simple. It's just that simple.
I've never had a job that anyone would consider important. I think my first job was filling up slush puppies and making hot dogs at a concession stand at a softball stadium. And then my most recent job was driving people around LA as a tour guide. So I've never had a job, at the New Yorker or anything even close to that. And I have a unbroken record of never having to jerk off at work. It's never happened. Not once. Never.
Never jacked your dick near the Angeles National Forest?
Right.
Is that what you're saying?
Every single time.
Shocking.
Every time.
Just the Cal Ripken of not jerking off.
I've made it home.
How
every
easy
time.
is that?
Somehow I made it home. I don't know. Maybe I'm lucky. But it's, it does just go to show you like how busy on a typical day these people actually are, because Jeffrey Toobin is not, he's not some new reporter. He's the guy, he wrote The People versus O.J. Simpson, the book that the series is based on. He's, written a bajillion books about the Supreme Court and about the presidency. Like, he's been around since the 80s. And so I think he's just, he reached a point where he felt like, he could touch himself while being untouchable, but not the case.
This is a bit morbid, but I really hope he doesn't kill himself, man. This is the type of thing where you're just like, I've had a pretty good run of life, right?
Right.
And then just decided I was going to fucking jerk off.
You know who's really happy about this? Probably Anthony Weiner. He's probably like, see, now you know how it feels. No one's talking about me.
Yeah,
that's
funny.
true.
Interestingly enough, y'all, Anthony Weiner now works for he's the CEO of some company it's local here in New York. And I forget exactly what they do, but their main sort of hiring practice is that they hire felons and they hire convicts, etc., and give them second chances. Because that's his whole thing. He's like, look, man, I know what it's like to have somebody fucking give you a second chance.
I wonder if the stipulation was he had to work there as Carlos Danger. Like that. That.
Oh,
would have
man.
been perfect.
If the company is called Danger.
Yeah, I just saw a thing that he is so he was recently named CEO of a company called Ice Stone, which
that's what it is.
Yeah. Although it says here that Ice Stone they make countertops out of broken glass. Is one of their things. So so the headline of the New Yorker thing is hilarious because it says Anthony Weiner piecing together shattered life as the CEO of a broken glass factory.
I swear they must have comedians write this shit.
Well, that's the New York Post. They've always got goofy shit, but that sounds like a Dr. Seuss job. No one's the CEO of a broken glass factory. That's ridiculous. That's Dada. That's nonsense.
Do you think they use an actual glass table that they smash and then piece together?
No, I think it's recycled glass. They smash it together and then heat it up so it becomes a granite countertop kind of thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's a bad thing.
Yeah. And by the way, a source told Motherboard that WNYC informed its staff on Monday that Toobin can no longer be booked on its shows or work with WNYC in any other professional capacity. So he's not going to be on Radio Lab anytime soon, folks.
Nope. Well, jack me once. Shame on you, I guess, or jack me twice. Shame on me. I don't know.
Oh my God.
I'm not quick enough to put that one together, but you know where I'm going with that.
Trust me, I'm sure Joe Rogan is reaching out to him right now.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He'll be all right.
Yeah, if his next book is about MMA, we'll know what happened,
Well, he needs to do an OnlyFans or something.
For nerds, for fucking people who read the New Yorker. It's just
yeah.
Oh,
he's already in that world now. If he doesn't if he doesn't pivot into adult entertainment, then he's fucking fooled because there's so many different titles for the movies. Lubin for Toobin.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I mean? There's a lot. If he doesn't capitalize, he's a fool. I say, an absolute fool.
But do a parody movie like Not the Zoom Call with Jeffrey Toobin, starring Jeffrey Toobin.
There we go. Laying pipe with the Tube Man.
Oh man,
laying pipe with the Tube Man.
It's CNN presents Laying Pipe with the Tube Man.
That's funny.
I have another funny story here. This one is from Benton County, Washington. Sheriff's deputies say that a man accidentally destroyed a trailer home in a fire on Sunday morning. According to Facebook post by the Benton County Sheriff's Office, a 38-year-old man was in the trailer when he became frustrated by a family of raccoons living under the house. Deputies say the man climbed under the trailer in an attempt to extract the raccoons, and at some point during the confrontation, he accidentally knocked over the candle that he took with him, which started the fire.
What sort of Lifetime movie is this? What the fuck is this? I have to believe you, right? Because like you didn't make that up, but
yeah,
Jesus Christ, man.
First thing, just so you know, flashlights cost about $1. They're about the same price as a candle.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure wherever he wasn't far from a 7-Eleven with the flashlight.
Yeah, I don't know where Benton County, Washington is. The fact that they call it Benton County and not a specific city leads me to believe it's probably pretty rural, but still, it's like, hey man, I don't know anything. I got a flashlight, but you know, I had when I lived in Alabama, I did have a raccoon family that lived in my ceiling. So if anybody doubts my Alabama-ness, that's the thing that happened to me in college. Was I had to call a guy out of the Yellow Pages who ran a company called Pesty Critters, and it was this like wannabe like insane redneck Rambo man who showed up in camo, and he was like, "Oh, we gonna get him out. I got cages, I got traps," and he set traps all around my house and shit like that, and actually extracted the family. But that was definitely the way to go. I didn't have to climb under the house with an open flame because that usually ends badly.
Yeah, historically, that's never gone well.
Have y'all had to deal with anything like that as far as critter invasions or anything?
The closest anyone has shown up, because I live in Brooklyn, so it's like you get roaches and shit. Like that is part of life here. The closest is I had like some guy show up in like a jeans and a t-shirt and like put this little like putty around the apartment's little shit that you like. I don't know. I'm not a roach murderer, so I don't know what the.
Wait, even the Brooklyn exterminators are hipsters. Like he showed up with. Did he have like a ukulele?
Yeah, like just like an ironic like roach spray shirt on, and they just like put this shit around the house. And it's like, all right, I'm out. Like it wasn't as serious as a paramilitary man that showed up at
the Brooklyn exterminator is called Exterminator ... I guess. Or whatever. It's just non-committal hipsters. They're like, I mean, I could take care of the problem if you want. They're just like real passive aggressive.
Like I once had like a squirrel living in the attic of my house when I lived in Brooklyn. And, every now and then you would hear something moving and whatnot. And it really got awkward, like when I would bring a girl home and then you would hear the movement. But it was to the point where it was like, well, we're already here, so it's not a big deal. And then I would tell my dad about it, and I was like, Dad, maybe we should get like, someone to come and take care of that problem because I hear movement up there. So it could be like a mouse or a squirrel or something. And he's like, nope, too expensive. So he buys these huge mouse traps or rat traps, whatever they are.
Yeah.
Biggest trap I've ever seen in my life. He puts it up in the attic, and that's it. He does nothing else. So then later on, there are weird smells coming from the attic. And we're like, hey, Dad, maybe you should check that out. He goes up there, and then it's like squirrel carcasses everywhere from his traps. And I'm like, you just murdered a bunch of squirrels. You're supposed to get rid of the body, dude. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Oh, no.
It was wild. And my dad was like, whatever. He just goes up there with a broom and a trash bag and that's it. And I'm like, you are a maniac, sir.
Oh my God.
That's on some real like mafia hitman style.
Yeah, I've told this story on the show before, but it's relevant and it's true. My friend John lived in he had an apartment, and around March, when it starts to kind of warm up, the winter comes to an end and spring has sprung and the temperatures rise. It started having an awful smell about it, and he called the landlord and they were like, "Oh, something must have died, in the walls. We'll come to check it out." And they sent a guy over, and what it was that at some point during the winter, a cat and a possum had killed each other, and they were locked in mortal combat like a tyrannosaur and a triceratops skeleton you'd see at the museum. They were locked together in combat and dead in the walls. And so they pulled that out, and that was fucking horrifying. It's like, wow, this was a pretty bad fight. Why didn't you hear this happening in your walls?
Right. Wow.
Well, on that weird note, I'll ask you my other question, and this is sort of relevant, except I'm asking about your human neighbors. Have you noticed your neighbors doing anything weird during quarantine?
Well, here's the thing, right? My neighbors have always been weird.
Uh-huh.
So this is a tough question to answer. But the thing that I can say, because Neil's been to the crib before, and the thing is like my building, I'm not going to tell myself here, but there are certain floors that are just fucking wild, right? Like it's like there's like entire floors that are essentially like trap houses. Like it's just fucking nuts, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of floors in my building, but my floor is generally pretty tame, except for one apartment that's around the corner, and they get crazy. But they thankfully keep it within the walls of their home, but you can hear the shit once in a while.
Uh-huh.
So I will, every maybe month or so, month and a half, you'll just hear at 2 a.m, bam, 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 bam on the door. And I'm like, they're doing it again. They're doing it. And then you hear the bam, bam, bam. And then you hear like, you motherfucker. And then the door shuts. They they start outside, and it is a kind of like a crescendo. So it's like, you motherfucker, or a decrescendo. It's like, you motherfucker. And it goes right into the walls of their fucking place. And side note, well, actually not a side note. In addition to, I walked by their door, and there's like 5 locks on the door.
Nice.
There's like the PIN code. There's a deadbolt. There's another deadbolt. I'm like, what? So much violence. But again, they're very respectful. They keep it right within the walls.
Hey,
you don't hear that shit in the hallway.
That's the way to keep a criminal organization, moving along nicely. Just keep that shit off Main,
Yup.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's what I got for you.
Okay. Yeah. What about you, Neil? Your place over there in Hollywood is seemed pretty chill the last time I was there, but I don't know. You've been home this whole time, so maybe there's some weird shit happening.
Well, within my apartment, it's pretty like tame. Like I haven't even seen people. Like when I saw somebody that lives on another floor, like in the garage, like in the parking garage, he was like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you're okay. I never see people." And I was like, yeah, man. I was like, yeah, we're okay. I'm glad you're okay. He kind of was really excited. Like he wanted to give me a hug, but then he remembered it was a pandemic, so he didn't.
Yeah. And,
I was just like, yeah, it's a very tame atmosphere. Like everyone pretty much stays in their apartment and that's it. But I do see some wild stuff going on next door. Like I live next door to a really big apartment, and they have a pool, and they have pool parties like every day.
Jesus.
Like there's no pandemic.
Oh God.
And it's like it's people in the pool, it's beer, it's everything. It's just a wild party every day. Like it's like Memorial Day weekend every day. And I'm like, these people do not care. And I'm just looking in through my window and I'm like, Coronavirus is already attending that party. I'm sure of it.
We're never going to get out of this. Well, Jim, on that note, Jim, Neil, please tell people where they can find you online, and please tell them about your wonderful podcast, Swatches and Boomboxes.
So if you find me, I'm at Jim Search on all social media. JimSearchComedy.com is a good place to find me. I'll save the best for last. But I have a podcast called Open Bar Talk with Jim Search. I interview bartenders from around the world. It's super dope. And if you want to find our podcast, Mr. Charles and I, you can do that. Swatches and Boomboxes. Rivers has been on. You'll now be on 3 times.
Yeah.
We'd love to have you on every time. You're a fucking brilliant dude. And we're always happy to have you talk music. Sorry, I got sidetracked.
I was
Swatches and Boomboxes at gmail.com. Swatches and Boomboxes, wherever you find podcasts. And Swatches and Boomboxes on Instagram, Swatches and Boom on Twitter.
The secret to being on podcasts a bunch is to talk way too much, and then they have to get you back because you don't actually finish the thing they fucking brought you on to talk about. So that's my little secret.
Or talk really slow.
Right. Yeah. Todd Berry.
I saw a bunch of my friends like tweeting, and they were like, "Oh my God, you really know your stuff." Blah 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, man, that's what Rivers does. And it was hilarious. I was just listening to that episode over again. And I was like, Rivers, why do you know this? And that really made me laugh. It was hilarious.
I have such a fear of looking dumb, so I just researched the hell out of it. Now I've watched even more Outcast interviews, so I've got way more to say even next time. So
perfect.
Oh, I can't wait. Oh, yeah. You can find me. I'm at neilcharles.com. And I make it super hard to find me because none of my names are consistent. So you find me on Instagram at Certified Hilarious. Find me on Twitter as Neil Charles FTW. And then, of course, the legendary Swatches and Boomboxes. And this week you can listen to your very own Rivers Langley talk about Stankonia for part 1.
Yeah, that's our our Stankonia / Halloween 20th anniversary show. So, yep. Well, thank you guys so much for calling in. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Can't wait to record Stankonia Part 2. I'm getting beefed up for that, so I have new things to say and not just Outcast rules, which is, but they do. Yeah, I'm looking real forward to that. Everybody, check out Swatches and Boomboxes, and we'll talk soon. Did everybody hear the Borat situation with Rudy Giuliani?
Wait, what's the Borat situation with Rudy Giuliani?
So there's a new Borat movie coming out Friday on Amazon Prime that he filmed during, like, right when quarantine was starting, I guess. And, Borat, his whole thing is he gets, scores interviews with, famous politicians, then makes them look stupid. And he got an interview with Rudy Giuliani under the pretext of talking about how New York handled COVID, I guess. And the plot of the film, from what I understand, is that he's going around America this time with his, because it's been 14 years since the original Borat, and so he's going around the country with his 15-year-old daughter, who's this Russian actress who's like a child, basically, and that's sort of the plot of the film. And so she's the one interviewing Giuliani, so it's this, basically, as far as he knows, a 15-year-old Russian reporter or Kazakh reporter in a hotel room. And they put up hidden cameras all over the place, and they managed to catch Giuliani. He says tucking his shirt in, but because he's got that like old man, thing going on with the gut ski there, he had to lay down on the bed to tuck his shirt in. So you can see there's this picture, and we'll put this on our Twitter so people can see it, from the film of Giuliani lying down on the bed, tucking his shirt in. And I mean, he's touching his fucking junk. I'm a man.
Wait, that's really what he's doing? Or?
Yeah, that's what he says. I mean,
because that looks not like that at all.
Yeah, it could be out of context.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if he pulled his dick out in front of a 15-year-old girl, we would have heard about it before now.
Well, no, this is great promo. You hold on to this kind of thing,
Wait a minute. So
this is a crime. You can't hold on to this thing.
Well, no, listen, if Bob fucking Woodward is allowed to hold on to Trump lying about COVID so he can sell a fucking book, book, then I think Sacha Baron Cohen should have just as much latitude as the man.
I don't think so.
The man who did Watergate.
When you're pulling out your dick in front of a 15-year-old girl.
Look. I'm a little bit concerned about why that's his method of tucking in his shirt, though.
That is insane.
Why would you lay on your back and then just because you have a big overhanging gut?
It'd make it harder because you'd be on your shirt. You'd be on the part that you would have to move to tuck in.
This picture, he legitimately looks like Vladimir Lenin lying in the tomb. He looks like a corpse.
He is in that same position.
He's in the position they put you in, your final position.
And he's probably covered in makeup too.
Yeah, it's
Pumped
really
full
weird.
Of God knows what.
He is wearing like Austin Powers glasses. It looks like really thick rimmed glasses. The whole goddamn thing is just very strange. But what was very funny, and it's almost made better by the fact because the man so rarely does this. Trump tweeted about this and then immediately deleted the tweet. But of course that's pointless. So we got it. The tweet was, washed up Hollywood nobodies trying to trick America's great mayor, Rudy Giuliani, but failed. He was with a woman, parentheses, young, and tucking in his shirt, which I have done many times. Don't listen to the fake news. It was a tuck.
Oh, my goodness.
That's funny as fuck.
It's so funny. And of course, people on Twitter were pointing out that's very, George Costanza. I was in the pool.
Yeah.
It was a tuck.
Just another one for Donald Trump being the funniest president.
Telling him, no, unchallenged. Yeah, that's the funny. And what's even funnier is because Trump has no loyalty to anybody. He's like, actually, I don't give a shit about Rudy, and he just deleted it.
I think this is one of those ones where somebody next to him is like, dude, you can't. Like when your friend is saving you from looking terrible on Twitter. I like just the parentheses young.
Yeah, why?
And then
because it sounds better than young woman.
Well, and I also love and tucking in his shirt, which I have done many times. It's like you literally only wear suits. We assume this.
But he also lays down in that weird way.
I guess that's just what old fat guys have to do.
I've heard of the old trope of if your jeans are too tight, you got to lay down and pull them up. But
that was the one of the biggest struggles for ladies in the mid 2000s was slipping into them jeans.
Yeah, that is true.
That.
It's a well-worn comedy premise for sure.
Never been able to fit in clothes my entire life, so I never understood it. I was like, why don't you just wear a bigger clothes? That's what I do when I can't fit into my clothes.
So in the article, this is from page 6, the hardest hitting reporting ever.
This is a great Twitter follow if you're not doing it.
So Giuliani explained. So first of all, during the scene, I guess I'm going to spoil Borat real quick. What? It's coming out Friday. It's in the goddamn newspaper. I'm allowed to say it.
I'm shocked that there was one coming out though, just because I feel like everyone knows Borat. So how could he get away with doing?
So I
think that's what the 15-year-old girl's for.
Yeah, that's why they got her, because in the scene he's being interviewed and then Borat runs in wearing like pink panties and a bra or something crazy.
I love that because it's like Ashton Kutcher coming out on Punk'd.
It's very
I thought he was going to do like a David Attenborough thing and just narrate the whole movie.
So this is Giuliani speaking. This guy comes running in wearing a crazy pink bikini with lace underneath a translucent mesh top. It looked absurd. He had the beard, bare legs, and wasn't what I would call distractingly attractive. As soon as I realized it was a setup, I called the police. And this is my favorite. I only later realized it must have been Sacha Baron Cohen. I thought about all the people he had previously fooled, and I felt good about myself because he didn't get me. It seems like he kind of did. I'm looking at a picture of you laying down on the bed, tucking a fucking shirt into your balls.
And you had to call the police.
Yeah, you called the police. Yeah, he got you.
He got you, bitch.
You Karen'd him.
I call the police all the time.
But this is my favorite part. However, the former New York City mayor added, quote, "I'm a big fan of some of his movies. Borat in particular, because I've been to Kazakhstan, and then in brackets it says adopting a Borat accent. Giuliani repeats a famous line from the movie. She is my sister. She is number 4 prostitute in all of Kazakhstan. That was pretty funny, but this is an effort to blunt my relentless exposure of the criminality and depravity of Joe Biden and his family.
Wow, out of all the quotes in that movie, he had to pick that one.
Well, 15 years ago, even then it was very racy and non-PC. Yeah. So nowadays, and this is what I was wondering about when they announced this, I was like, how are they going to do a lot of the things?
I think it's weird because he's like in costume. Like they acknowledge the success of the first film in this film. Mm-hmm. Like the kayfabe is that like, Borat's a real guy and he put out a documentary that became like huge in America because it was accidentally funny. So that's like going in, like that's the reality. So he's like, everyone knows me in America. So now in order to get real reactions, I have to dress in crazy costumes. So now he's playing Borat playing other people. So it's like a layer on a layer, basically.
Wow, how meta. And
I didn't even
It's like when
that.
Kane became corporate.
I just mean like how a lot of the premises in the movie were very risque.
Sure.
Like he's like, that's Milosh, the town rapist. It's like shit like that. It's like, because a lot of the movie was built on him not understanding what he was saying and then saying terrible things, basically. So I was just wondering how they were going to handle that. Or maybe they'll just abandon that completely.
I don't know. I think the great joke of Borat, of course, is that he's extremely anti-Semitic, but most of the things that he's saying in what's supposed to be Kazakh is actually Hebrew. So,
oh wow,
great jokes.
I went to film school with a kid from Kazakhstan, and that was in the mid 2000s.
Oh, I'm sure.
I felt so bad.
How did they? I know.
Like film school's already so obnoxious.
I know how the government of Kazakhstan felt about Borat because they revoked his website. Like Sacha Baron Cohen had a website that was Borat.kz, which is it's like Kazakhstan. And when it became big, like the government of Kazakhstan like revoked that website. Was like, no, you're not going to slander the great name of Kazakhstan with this bullshit. So.
Well, yeah, I remember the kid being like, he just felt like he just kept getting like everyone kept coming up to him and being like, "Is Kazakhstan?" Yeah, that. But they also kept asking him if Kazakhstan was real, and he was like, "This sucks that like I come to America and like everyone's just asking me if where I'm from is real." Yeah,
that is the monkey's paw of success.
Yeah,
it's like,
shut up, Mukhtar. Though he's a good kid.
I was thinking that's inherently the issue with Borat, though, is that people don't understand that he's like you said, he's speaking in Hebrew when he's talking about how he hates the Jews.
Yeah,
nobody understands that. They're just laughing at him hating Jews.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, I think the two hardest times I've ever laughed in a theater.
I mean, I get it. It's a funny movie.
It is funny.
It was Team America and then Borat. Those two movies, which no two movies have been more misappropriated by like right-wing idiots, but like, my God, I fucking like was dying both of those times.
Those movies ruined high school.
Yeah, I agree.
America. Just
like,
people walking around the halls doing that, doing the Borat impression, doing the lines from Team America.
See, I got it out. Team America came out in October of 2004, so I was already in college, so I got out. I didn't have to deal with high school, and then Borat came out in 2006.
Yeah, 2006 was like I was a junior in high school when Borat came out then, so it was very, very popular.
I was already into college, and I was just like, this is legitimately one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Yeah,
like, I could not.
Now Rudy Giuliani's like, my wife.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I hate it. I'm like, this isn't for you. I talked about this. Actually, I did. Our friend Neil Charles and his partner in crime there, Jim Search. They have a podcast called Swatches and Boomboxes, where they talk about old school hip hop and stuff like that. And I did. Actually, we're going to do part 2 this weekend, but I talked about Stankonia by Outkast and how Bombs Over Baghdad, which is really a song about self-actualizing and not doubting yourself. And, if you're going to, don't pull the thing out unless you plan to bang. If you're going to do something, no half measures and stuff like that. But then that was the song that was played on tanks rolling into Baghdad and shit. And I'm just like, it's the worst thing in the world when like idiots get a hold of like things
that's
right
so
and
gross.
Turn them right wing. You're like, it's not about that.
They're not listening to the fucking lyrics, though. They just hear the chorus where they're like, yeah, I'm going to pull out my gun and bang.
This song is about bombs over Baghdad.
Right.
Clearly.
Right. So anyway, shout out to Jim and Neil. Then check out that episode. I re-listened to Stankonia to prepare for part 2. My laptop died.
Wonderful album, though. Such a good album.
Yeah, this is all that remains. The laptop that made all.
Oh, I thought you meant it just ran out of power.
No, I mean it fucking is dead. This
Took
is
a shit.
I got the hard drive here. This is pretty much all 400 or whatever episodes of the show was edited on that laptop.
Damn.
And it died on me simply because I was like, oh, this is running kind of slow. I'm gonna hit restart, and I hit restart and it just never booted back up.
Dude, that's happened to me before.
Yeah, and the only laptop that I could possibly get that was like in my price range and had the amount of storage that I wanted, the only place where I could get it overnight so I could still edit the podcast was in Vegas. So I did a little Vegas turnaround over the weekend.
Are you fucking serious?
And I am now I can report officially that I have now had White Castle.
How was it?
Crystal's better.
You know what? I agree.
That's my
Is it just
official
the
verdict.
same thing though?
They're so goddamn close. It's almost not even a contest. But like the Crystal's beef is slightly better than White Castle.
All right.
But yeah, I officially had it at the.
Do they have the same like fries and everything?
It's almost exactly the same.
I've never had
everything.
either.
The only thing that I don't think Crystal has, and maybe if people know, tweet at me, but I don't think Crystal has a fish option, but White Castle has the little mini fish sandwiches. I didn't
Interesting.
try one, but
I think White Castle gave me bed bugs.
what?
This is a weird story, but when I lived in Chicago, I went to White Castle, and then I remember like a day later, I had like all these like sores on my body, and I was like, oh my god, what the fuck happened at White Castle? Like I thought I was allergic, or like I went to the bathroom and like I got like some kind of disease from White Castle.
Oh my god!
Turns out like I found out like later that like randomly we had gotten bed bugs. I'm not sure if we got it from there or not, but for a while I really thought that like I got all these like rashes and sores from White Castle.
Oh, that really makes me not want to try White Castle.
I know.
Where would they even hide?
I don't know. Like I literally like it was just so random. Like I think I may have gotten them before. Actually, it just happened to be that I was like, all of a sudden the day after I have.
But I mean, it was probably a grungy enough restaurant for you to even think that in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like all the furniture's in there is like plastic. I don't know where. I don't know where they would hide, but
Yeah. Well, I had no idea what bed bugs were at the time.
Oh, sure,
Like, so
yeah.
I really had no. Like I literally like so this was like 2010 or something. Like right before the big bed bug boom.
Oh, yeah.
the BBB. Yes.
Yeah.
You just set your backpack next to the wrong backpack.
Yeah, something like that.
I do remember when that was like a big thing. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I'm sure it's still a big thing now in certain spots, but just I remember I was still in Alabama, so I had no concept of like living in a big city, and I was just like, bed bugs.
Yeah.
What?
Oh no, I had a horrifying bed bug experience.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, because I didn't realize that whole White Castle thing. But then when I got back and I started to be like, okay, well these, what are these sores from? And then I remember like checking the bed because somebody was like, oh, those look like they could be bed bug bites. And I was like, okay, so I checked the bed. I didn't see anything for a while. And then I saw one bug once on the wall. I still didn't know what a bed bug was. I thought it was like an ant or something, but I saved it anyways. We called an exterminator. They get there and they're like, okay, so do we have a bed bug infestation? They walk into the room and they look on the ceiling and it looks like a little speck of dust, but they're like, that's actually a colony of bed bugs right there. And I was like, what? They're not even like in the bed? They're
Oh my god! So they just hang out on the ceiling to like.
Yeah, and they drop down at night. Okay, sorry, this is too gross, listeners.
No, this is
But
horrifying. I
what
love
they-
it.
what
It's
they-
Halloween. This is spooky.
They like tight little corners.
Yeah, they like little tiny, and they had it in like light sockets too. But what they do
get everywhere.
at
Jesus.
night. So what they do is they are attracted to your breast. So when you're sleeping at night, they'll drop down from the ceiling, and then they will suck your blood and then crawl back up into their little corners. So they do that all at night, and then they crawl like. And
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it was
Don't let the
horrifying.
bed bugs bite.
my fucking I'm getting itchy just hearing this. I'm like, they're on me. They're on me.
Yeah.
I have them.
Look, 10 years. This was like 10 years ago, and I'm still very deeply affected by
bet.
this.
I bet.
The exterminator had the most gnarly way of showing me what a bed bug was, though, because I had put the bug in a little bag because I didn't know how to identify it.
Right.
And then he holds it up to me, and he takes the bag and he pinches the bug in the bag, and it splatters blood all over the bag, and he goes, "That's your blood." And I was like, wow. Okay. That was.
These people are, psychopaths. They kill for a living.
Yeah.
Oh, they love it, dude.
Yeah.
I was like, you could have just said bed bug. I didn't need the theatrics of you showing me what my blood looks like.
Well, I think it's one of those things where it's like, hey, you need to take this seriously. This is your fucking blood right here.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But we got rid of them after. It took a while, but we did end up getting rid of them after like having to like
bomb the house
Pretty much, multiple
times.
times over like a month.
Apparently, you can kill them with heat too, or something.
Yeah, that's what they said. They would put like we had to take all of our books, and they brought over like this thing that was like this like heated bag, and you'd put them in there for like a certain amount of minutes, and if they were in there, they would die.
Oh, okay.
Pretty gnarly stuff.
Did you have to like throw your like couch and bed away and shit like that? Or
yeah, I did. It was gnarly. But anyways, so back to White Castle. Yum yum.
Well, it was funny because the place I didn't actually even plan to go to White Castle. I just I pulled off to get some gas, and it was outside of Vegas. It was right next to Whiskey Pete's. If you've ever been to Vegas, it's like that. It's that hotel in the middle of nowhere with a roller coaster that like wraps around it and shit. And you can't miss it. It's the only thing for fucking. You're in the middle of like Roadrunner and Coyote, and then there's just a roller coaster in the middle of nowhere. But on the other side of the freeway from that is this big ass truck stop where it's like they have all these signs where it's like biggest gas station in California, and I'm like, is that a real selling point? Like,
we have so much gas.
That's what they say. They're like, we got 96 pumps, no waiting. I'm like,
that's pretty. That's something to brag about. I mean, you'll never need that.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe when the big one happens and we all have to flee the city,
right. Yeah,
people are going to be lined up at the 100 pump gas station.
I was thinking the only time that ever makes sense is when there's like one of those giant motorcycle like pools, where there's like a million bikers going at once, maybe. But
they don't even have big tanks.
That's the thing. It takes 5 seconds to fill a fucking motorcycle. So I don't know why that would need that. But the name of the place that had the White Castle inside of it, the truck stop, was called Terribles.
That rules.
So it had like a bandito as the logo, and they had a White Castle in there. And I was like, oh fuck, today's the day. I didn't even know today was the day, but
that's
today's
cool.
the day I'm getting my White Castle.
Did you just get the regular burger?
Yeah, I got the original. I got 4 original burgers because they're teeny tiny. For people listening in England, I didn't eat 4 gigantic hamburgers. They're tiny. I don't, know.
Imagine like the size of your palm, and then like half of that is the size of a White Castle burger.
Yeah. So I got the meal with the 4 little sliders and then the fries and stuff like that. So yeah, it was fine. I mean, it was just one of those things I was like, yeah, well, now check that off.
And I hate to bring this up, but do you think it might have been lower quality because this was in a truck stop?
I mean, this is the biggest gas station in California.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
They better be serving good stuff.
Well, I had to actually go inside. I tried to go around the drive-thru, and they had windows
I'm
for
shocked
a drive-thru.
they even have a drive-thru.
They had windows for a drive-thru, but nobody was at them, and the little menu board was blocked off, so you couldn't go back there. So it was strange. So at one point they had a drive-thru, but not no more.
Do you guys have a favorite?
Probably because they had 96 people in line.
Do you guys have a favorite random gas station? I know my family, whenever we'd go on road trips, they'd be like, "Oh my god, it's a Sheetz! We love the Sheetz gas station."
Stuckey's is the one down south, and I assume Bucky's is the one in
Texas. I like Love's.
Oh, Love's is reliable, very reliable. Yeah.
They just have a cool logo too.
Yeah, in days past, pre-COVID, Love's. If you're driving all night and shit, and you're kind of like dozing off, and you still need to drive for a couple more hours. If you just need to like get up and walk around, Love's is perfect. You just walk around and see all the trucker gear. Like they sell leather vests that say if you can read this, the bitch fell off and shit like that.
Yeah, all the cool stuff, like a t-shirt, the coolest t-shirt store, but in a truck stop.
I'm still mad. I went in one around Christmas time. Joe Raines and I were doing a show in Huntsville, and we stopped at a Loves to Piss, and they had this. I had one of them NASCAR racing jackets for GoDaddy.com.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's so nice.
And it was a time in which I was, I'd just, I'd been working and shit, so I was kind of flush with cash. I was like, I could buy this. It's like $150. I was like, I should buy this. And Raines talked me out of it, and I'm still kind of mad at him about it. It's not a thing I would wear much, but when I would, it would be hilarious.
Thing is, NASCAR jackets look badass.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Official sports merch is so fucking expensive. Like a jersey costs damn near $100, except for a basketball jersey. You're going to be paying $100+ for a football, For hockey, it's miserable. I don't know. Maybe baseball's cheap. Who knows? Baseball also has cool jackets.
I did the next best thing to spending $150, which is just to take a picture of it. So I'll put this on our Twitter so people can see it at the Goods Pod.
Oh,
Rivers,
dude.
you had it. Rivers, that looks so good. Yeah, you did.
Not only does it say GoDaddy, it's badass color.
Yeah,
too.
bad Daddy Rivers. You should have gotten that.
And then it says, it's go time underneath it.
Dude. That's the fucked up part is that's worth $150.
I know. Yeah, it's got Sprint, it's got Coke Zero, Aspen Dental, and Chevy and Goodyear.
Let's give
on
a quick fuck you to Joe Raines.
I know.
I could be wearing that right now.
This was around the time my favorite thing to do was when I would go on tour. There was this place in LA that's not here anymore called Whimsic Alley. Do you know about Whimsic Alley? It was
no, but I like the
okay. So.
wordplay.
Whimsic Alley was on Wilshire. It's like in Mid City on Wilshire, and it was like a unofficial Harry Potter themed store. Like they couldn't call it Diagon Alley or whatever, so they called it Whimsic Alley, and it was like themed. Like they just sold Harry Potter shit basically, and then over the years they just kept adding as Harry Potter waned in popularity and Game of Thrones kind of came up. They added a Game of Thrones section, and then eventually it was like they had Doctor Who. So it was basically just like, fantasy nerd shit. And then they had a banquet hall in the back that you could book for private parties and shit like that, where it was supposed to be the dining hall from Hogwarts, so it had the candles hanging from the ceiling and shit. It was extremely nerdy, right? And but that was
cool.
Well, that it's not there no more, otherwise I'd take you. But that was one of the on the tour that was like an option. They were like, oh hey, if you want to see like a weird quirky thing and if you like Harry Potter, we've got this. And people would opt to stop there, so I had to go there a lot. And around that time, my favorite thing to do was they had all these hats that someone had made that were supposed to be these like magic like
sorting hats.
They had a sorting hat, but then they had ones that were like a derby hat that had like branches of trees coming out of it, like it was supposed to be some sort of like fantasy thing. And so my favorite thing to do anytime I went to Whimsic Alley was to take a picture of myself in one of those hats and then text it to Joe Raines and tell him like, look at my new hat. I paid $75 for it and just make it, and then just fuck with him the rest of the day about like, why don't you like it? It's fucking cool. What's wrong with you?
How many times did he fall for that?
He never fell for it. It just made him mad, and I knew it would. So yeah,
man. Let's just say he fell
like, you have
for
one in the
it
mail.
for fun.
Yeah.
He falls for it every time.
Every time.
Fucking Joe Raines.
Yeah, I think the first time he was like, "Why would you do that?"
The second time, he
kind of got it. The second time. Oh, I have a fun thing. This is from Black Forest, Colorado. A 73-year-old woman was cited with 2 misdemeanors after a young buck deer that she had raised in her home gored her neighbor last week, according to Colorado Parks and Wildlife.
Damn.
Wow.
So Tynette Housley of Black Forest admitted to raising and feeding a deer, which she took into her home a year ago, and when it was a days-old fawn. On Friday morning, the buck attacked the neighbor who was walking her dog, according to the release. So you're walking your dog, and a deer that's all hopped up on human food.
Nuh-uh, she was feeding that human food?
So they, the deer just like fucked this person up. I mean, they're going to be fine, but
bucks they'll fuck you up, dude.
Yeah.
I've been in a situation where a buck was like mad that I was close to it, and it's fucking scary.
Yeah. Oh God.
They're like really big, right?
They're huge. And
They're
they got
big.
And he let it in the house?
She was living with it. Yeah. She domesticated it.
It's probably one of those things where when people have a terrible dog, but it's nice to them.
On Friday morning, the buck attacked a neighbor who was walking her dog. The woman told CPW officials that the buck repeatedly knocked her down and gored her with its antlers until she ran to a neighbor's house and then to her own house. Only when she ran between 2 cars in her garage did the buck finally back off.
Did the buck finally stop?
The buck stops at the garage.
Hey,
Hell yeah.
We like to have fun here.
The woman spoke to officers from her hospital bed and has since been released. The buck also approached a CPW wildlife officer who was investigating the attack. The officer then euthanized the buck fuck. So that's
a great word to say. Shot
it in the head. Yeah.
Shot the fuck out of it a bunch of times.
When they went through its entrails, they found hay, grain, corn, and potatoes, which confirmed that the humans were feeding it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's just giving it old mashed taters for dinner. So she was cited with illegal possession of wildlife and illegally feeding wildlife, both misdemeanors, and she was issued a warning for possessing live wildlife without a license after she described keeping the buck in her home, her garage, and on her property.
She's not getting charged for fucking manslaughter, because people sometimes when their dog attacks somebody, they'll get charged.
Yeah, well, this person, she didn't die. She just got fucked up. That it just kind of knocked her down and poked her in the face and legs a bunch.
Just fine.
Yeah, she's I think that's she's just getting with the two misdemeanors with keeping a deer. And as I've said, the mushroom dealer in my town, DJ Danger Russ, had a doe in his house that he found while picking mushrooms. Same sort of situation, except I don't know how fucked up this lady is, but so this is
one that's parading around the house. I don't get
talk about awkward neighbor situation for the rest of your life.
Yeah, my God.
Oh, sorry. My dear gored you. My bad. I know you walk your dog past here every morning. I have to see you.
Yeah. The CPW said, we can't say it enough. Wild animals are not pets. So they lose their fear of humans, and that leads to these outcomes, which are tragic for both the wildlife and the people. So.
Yeah, definitely tragic for that buck.
Yeah. All he wanted was to gore a woman with a dog. Something simple.
This woman never watched Grizzly Man. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh my God, yes, I love Grizzly Man.
It's such a good movie.
It really is a good movie.
I love Werner Herzog sitting, Beverly,
Werner,
you must never listen to this. It will be the elephant in the room for the rest of your life.
Oh yeah.
And then they proceeded to release it on NPR.com. So
they released it on NPR.
Oh yeah, you can hear it. You can just go to YouTube and type in Timothy Treadwell death tape, and it's on there. It's exactly as hilarious as you would think. He's just like, "Oh, hello there, Mr. Bear." Oh God.
Well, they play some of it in the documentary. They play
I think they play up to a certain point. I'm never going to listen to it. I've learned my lesson. People are like, "Oh, you can actually see this thing," and I'm like, "Never mind."
I'm not a fan of Live Leak.
You don't y'all didn't do Faces of Death as a.
I mean, you watch it as a kid and you're like, whoa.
Rotten.com.
Ogrish.
Yeah, my favorite was there was a video that I rented a bunch just to show to people called Banned from Television Uncensored, that was just fucking horrifying car crashes and people getting hit by trains and shit.
Oh, absolutely not.
And they let me rent it because it's unrated, so it was just like, oh, I'm just 13 and I rode my bike and I'm all fat and sweaty. I'm like, this please.
Oh, wow.
One murder tape,
one
please.
Snuff film to show to my friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there was one where it was just this protest that was going on. I want to say in Singapore or something like that, and it was these construction workers that were striking, and then I guess the boss, somebody got up on top of the skyscraper they were building and started throwing gas bombs down on people.
Whoa!
And then I just remember the narrator being because this guy's standing there and one comes down and this fireball just hits and it misses him at first, and he's like the first bomb misses the man, but the next will engulf him. And then it's just this fucking huge fireball, and then me and my friends are 12 and we're just like, oh, this is awesome.
God, your friends are all serial killers.
They're all pretty normal.
Yeah, I mean, when you're young, you don't get it. Faces of Death wasn't even real, really. Most of them were setups, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
This one was all, this is all pretty legit, I thought.
Yeah.
A lot of dash
cams. You got
cams.
the underground shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the underground shit, only available at Movie Gallery.
When VHS was still cool.
I probably told this on the show, but when Movie Gallery went out of business, they had a big clearance sale, and they just sent all of the stock from every Movie Gallery. It was a local Alabama chain. Every Movie Gallery sent their stock to the Auburn location to sell off in mass. We could pick up DVD. I still have DVDs in my collection that I got from that, where it was nice. $2, $3. And I just remember there was a big, I was going through the $2 pile, the cheapest pile. And they had Run Tell Dat by Martin Lawrence.
Oh, dude, that's funny.
I know. I was like, oh, hell yeah, I love this. And then I opened it and someone had stolen it.
Well, run tell that, motherfucker.
Stole it from the $2 pile. I was like,
Hey, man.
Listen,
My friends
times
used
are-
to steal dollar comics from the hallway that they were clearly like, just steal these.
Yeah.
We can't even watch these. We're just going to put them in a hallway, and if you're nice, you can pay $1 for one.
Honor system.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my God. Well, speaking of theft, this is brilliant. This is basically just the newspaper telling you a great way to steal stuff. This is from North Naples, Florida. A man is accused of using a 24-cent packet of Kool-Aid to rack up nearly $1,000 in fraudulent charges at a Walmart in North Naples. The Collier County Sheriff's Office arrested Bradley Young, 37, on charges of grand theft and shoplifting. They say that Young scanned merchandise at a Walmart with the Kool-Aid packet hidden in his palm. Each item rang up for 24 cents, with the final bill ending up being just under $25, but the items were really worth $994.13.
Wow,
Nice.
genius.
What a great way to steal stuff.
Yeah.
You got overambitious was the problem. You don't steal $1,000 worth of shit like that. You
Yeah.
steal $100 worth of shit like that.
Yeah, right.
Well, also, he probably used a card.
Yeah.
Which they can directly trace to you. The key is, if you do this, you got to keep using cash.
Yeah.
And I hate to tell people how to do this, but if you're going to scam the self-checkout, use cash.
Yeah. Well, and this guy was extra stupid, too. So a loss prevention worker at Walmart, that's their code for guy who makes sure you don't steal anything. A loss prevention worker at Walmart recognized Young from a previous situation. So he'd already done this
And
once.
you can't keep going back to the same place.
Yeah,
Don't
do it once.
shit where you eat, man. Go to a different Walmart. She followed him around the store and watched him in the self-checkout line. The worker said Young also took a soda and a fan from the shelf.
Yeah, you needed that shit.
But then tried to return them at customer service. That shit is wild.
Oh, he went back.
Well,
the
you
scene
can
of the crime?
if you buy under a certain amount of stuff, they'll let you return it without a receipt. If it
Yeah.
doesn't cost that much money, and then you can get cash for it.
They maybe do that now. We had a great racket. I've said this before. There was a film festival in Auburn, and they gave away DVDs as in like a goodie bag. It was actually sponsored by Movie Gallery before they went out of business. And one of the times they gave away like the deluxe edition, like Disney Beauty and the Beast and like some other movies and shit. And those fuckers were $35 each.
Wow.
And no one took the goodie bag. And so me and my buddies just loaded up on those DVDs, and the whole summer they wouldn't give you cash, but they would give you credit on a little gift card. So the whole summer, because Walmart had gas, they had snacks, they had everything. So the whole summer, if we needed anything, we would just return Beauty and the Beast or whatever, and they would give us $35 credit.
Wow.
It's a great scam.
That's a great
That
scam.
is a good one.
Shortly before deputies caught up with him, investigators said that Young left the Walmart with a cart full of unpaid items, which included a $248 scooter and $160 worth of batteries. And I heard that, I was like, car batteries? Certainly he's not stealing 1,000 cases of AA's and a dual navigation system worth $120. So this guy,
Yeah.
man, what a great scam, but this guy's way too ambitious.
Don't take a scooter through self-checkout. That's literally bananas.
Well, he's gonna sell all this shit.
Yeah, but they're gonna look at you. It's like, man,
Yeah.
most people at Walmart are not paying attention unless you're having to like get someone's help to move the items you're about to pilfer. It's like, hey, can you give me a hand with this? I don't plan on paying with it, but I do want to raise as much attention as possible.
Yeah, it is a mistake to do $900 worth of shit.
But man,
That's where he really fucked up the most.
yeah. But now that's get a Kool-Aid. See, I wouldn't actually have. I was thinking about how I would do it. I wouldn't get the actual packet. I would buy the packet separately, and then I would tape the barcode to my hand, so that way there's nothing in my hand, so I could move it.
Oh, that's smart.
And so I don't have to, I'm not trying to like pin and tell or nothing. I just, make it look normal.
This guy's an amateur magician.
I'm telling you,
Clearly, he's good at palming stuff. Probably does fucking 3-card Monty on the weekends.
This is pretty fun. Scottsdale Scottsdale, Arizona. A Levine man is in trouble according to court documents after a spat with employees at a Scottsdale restaurant. According to court documents, Justin Young is accused of indecent exposure and disorderly conduct. The incident that led to Young's arrest happened on the night of October 18th. Young, according to court documents, was told to leave the restaurant because they were closing. He allegedly refused to leave and began yelling at employees. Once he was out of the restaurant, he proceeded to pull down his pants and pissed on the front door as he exited.
Power move.
Fucking this guy's a king, man. I mean, I've worked at a lot of restaurants. I would not have appreciated it had I worked there, but I mean,
wait, why did he pee on the door again?
They asked him, they were closing, and they're like, you have to leave. You know, it's a normal time for you to leave because we're closing. And he was like, fuck all y'all. And he pissed on the door on the way out.
That's what you get when you try to close 15 minutes early. But sometimes you got to close even earlier than that.
He was like, guys, I just needed to use the bathroom.
That is true. The struggle is real. As we know, there's no goddamn bathrooms anywhere.
I would have paid for an item.
Yeah. Investigators claim that Young also exposed himself to employees as well as obscenely gesturing at them.
He was flipping him the bird.
I thought he was in the jack-off motion.
That's what I'm saying.
But with his actual dick.
He's got his dick in one hand and flipping him off with the other. This guy's awesome. This guy's he's a real juggalo.
Yeah.
And the guy's cool.
It would have just exposing his dick and pressing it against the glass would have been funny, but to piss and flip him off also. He probably didn't think he could get indecent exposure if you're pissing.
Yeah,
that's a sex crime.
I was gonna say that's the main reason most people have to go door to door and introduce themselves. I was drunk on the MARTA in 2012 after the WrestleMania.
Oh, that's what. Yeah, all the fucking weirdos.
Wait, they have to go door to door and introduce themselves?
Not anymore.
Do they not do that anymore?
No, there's just a sex offender website.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's so crazy.
Back before the internet. Talk about awkward neighbor situation.
Oh yeah.
Would you rather have your deer gore somebody?
Or have some pedophile introduce himself to you.
Oh, and by the way, I wanted to say again, we mentioned it yesterday, at Dark Red Burst sent us some candy. What'd you think of the Coffee Crisp and the Arrow, Sam?
Oh, the Arrow has a weird bite to it.
Yeah, it's like filled with air bubbles and
it's
shit.
not that, though. It doesn't taste like normal chocolate. It doesn't taste like milk chocolate or dark chocolate. There's some weird something in there.
I was saying it's that Nestle flavor, because Nestle gets away with a lot of bullshit because their candies have gimmicks like Butterfinger. The chocolate is not the main attraction of a Butterfinger. Mm-hmm. It is
there's
the peanut butter.
There's barely any chocolate.
Right.
And the chocolate itself is kind of cheap. It's like those chocolate Santas that you get from like Walgreens or something. You're like, this tastes a little off.
That's what I mean. It's like the Nestle, something about their recipe to me is always just, so when you have just like an unfucking cut bar of Nestle chocolate, then you start to notice how shitty Nestle's actual chocolate is, you know.
Yeah.
See, I thought it was worse than Nestle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I thought it was like a step down even from that.
Yeah.
Because it's not quite because I think the texture of it, because I had it too, the texture of it is like, it's not quite a crunch, but it's also like not
supposed
quite,
to be.
It's not like creamy either, but like it has like a weird
texture.
Yeah, I think that's...
And it's because there's air bubbles in it, I think, Rivers.
Yeah.
The Coffee Crisp, I liked. I wish it tasted more like coffee.
That was my thing. When I went to Canada, I immediately, if you go to Canada, they'll just start pouring Coffee Crisps in your lap, you know, as a welcome. You know, Hawaii
sounds fine.
Hawaii gives you a lei of flowers. Canada gives you a lei of Coffee Crisp and Timbits. And when that was my thing. When I had it, I was just like, God damn, this I could use more coffee in my.
Yeah, you want it to taste like a coffee cake or something.
Yeah,
like that coffee.
Yeah.
I liked it. I thought that was really good too.
And the nerd or the Smarties that are
the weirdest thing. Yeah,
they're just M&Ms.
They're like Nestle M&Ms, but apparently there's two different things called Smarties, and I didn't know.
I didn't have any idea. Yeah, I found out when you thought you were eating regular Smarties and then freaked out.
Yeah. Well, because I just opened the box and just, flipped them all in my mouth because it was a little teeny box. Fun size, as they say here in the States. And
but what's fun about having less candy?
I know, nothing. Not a goddamn thing. Anyway, shout out to Dark Red Burr. Thank you so much for sending me that.
That's nice.
Our friends at the Marvel Pod, the Multiverse of Marvel podcast, tagged us. This is from Twitter. From there's an author named Shane Bauer who shared this. So this is an exchange in a court hearing between a lawyer and an FBI agent, and they are trying to work out the difference between Boogaloo Boys and Juggalos.
Oh, I saw this.
And it's just one of the funniest exchanges ever. So the FBI.
Which one do you want to be?
I was gonna actually go with A. I was hoping you'd be Q.
Okay, yeah.
But I just want to say this is, when people are like, oh, the FBI, these are the smartest guys in the room. This is what we're dealing with here. So yeah, you be Q and I'll be A.
Okay. When somebody says a boogaloo, that you now seem to think that that's a civil war?
That is the accepted definition, yes.
Boogaloo is a term that's associated with the Insane Clown Posse, the ICP, is it not?
No, Juggalo is the Insane Clown Posse.
I understand Juggalo, but then they do Boogaloos?
They do Blugalo, which is a black Juggalo. It's not spelled.
And they do Boogaloos, which is a pit mash where they go together and they just slam into one each other, or some stupid music thing. Do they not?
I have no knowledge of that, actually.
All right.
This is where your tax dollars are going, okay? It's to these sorts of stupid conversations that any fucking person could answer pretty quickly.
But what if you're 70 and
what is
you can't even remember the difference between words, let alone what's happening today?
I just like the confidence of the FBI agent being like, is it not? Every time.
Yeah. This is an Insane Clown Posse thing, is it not? I've been informed.
Well, that's one of the best things is they question in a way where they're just trying to get you to confess to something that isn't true at all.
Right,
it's just what they believe already.
Yeah, you can see the tactics right through it.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Say what I think.
Is it not? It is not.
Yeah.
It's not.
That is I will say, I'm giving him credit where credit's due. That's the first time I've ever heard Blugalo, a black Juggalo.
Yeah, that's not surprising. It's the first time you've heard. It's probably a rare sighting.
Yeah, I was going to say. Well, also, it's just like, I just feel like everybody is a Juggalo.
Yeah,
they
shouldn't have to
They don't need to decipher.
I get it. It's kind of the same thing, no matter what you look like. Oh man. Are y'all ready for our jam of the day?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I was trying to think of like what's kind of a Halloween-y type song, and of course the video for this it's basically Dracula, Beauty and the Beast, and Phantom of the Opera all kind of wrapped up into one. Directed, by the way, by Michael Bay. A young Michael Bay directed the video for this song, which of course is called "I Would Do Anything for Love."
I love the song.
Yeah, there we go.
This is a karaoke jam.
Is it?
Yeah, for sure.
I remember this video. Today is the day I found out Michael Bay directed the video, and that blew my goddamn mind because I remember being freaked out by this video as a child because it's scary. He's like a monster, you know.
Yeah.
I never saw this.
It's pretty dope. He's a monster guy, and he's trying to lure a lady to his castle, and he's singing by a fire. He's got crazy makeup on, and there's all kind. There's a lot happening. It's Michael Bay, so you can imagine. Everybody go check out the video for this because it is indeed something special. But yeah, this comes out in 1993, so we're a scant 2 years away from Bad Boys. Michael Bay is about to take over the goddamn world, and this is where he's like,
Wow,
this is where he's coming alive.
Gotta start, huh?
This is music videos. But yeah, let's yes, this is where.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a song that kicks ass for sure, but inherent in a song that kicks ass, there's going to be some fun people weighing in on songs that kick ass because when you listen to kick ass music, you think you kick ass.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if there's going to be any Rocky Horror references in these comments.
There were a couple. I didn't include any, but a few people did mention it. So let's get down into these comments. The Devonator from 1 month ago. This is my number one song I listen to when the homies aren't around.
That's a great comment.
It's like, yeah.
just crying in the shower.
It's like, yeah.
No way.
Devin, Derek's here. Tell him to go away, Mom. I'm the Devinator. He doesn't need to be seeing this.
I feel like Devinator was the name he chose when he's 14, and now he's 23.
He's just stuck with it.
Yeah.
Greg Woleen from 1 year ago. I miss the good old days when beautiful women were just laying around in gardens waiting for ugly monsters like myself to come and sing them to win their love. So
I guess that's a reference to the video.
Yeah. Because he's a monster in the video. This one's real crazy. Lynn Lebeck from 4 days ago. USA, USO, war weapons, tour music. Trilogy did give up his war weapons to start a war weapons. Personal life, hell. No vampire. Netherlands never will win. The U.S. born is war, is more deadly.
And people really like this video.
They really love this song. They can't stop talking about it.
I think that's a reference to the video, clearly.
I think it's slam poetry that's been translated through 6 languages and then back to English.
Yeah, it's a lot of repetition.
Tevildo Calcifer. That's a hell of a name. Tevildo Calcifer from 3 days ago. I remember when I was just a tadpole. I saw that song on the French charts, and, well, the rest is history.
Yeah.
No, it's not. What the fuck are you
what
talking
happened?
about?
Well, to him it is, not to us.
It's like you obviously heard about the exploits in France of Tevildo Calcifer. We all know what happened with me.
The thing is, history, not all of it everybody needs to know about, but it still happened.
Marhaves Dwayne from 1 year ago. Hi, just a quick comment. When I was 12, my uncle fell asleep driving and died.
Oh.
There's a lot of dead uncles in these comments. My uncle fell asleep driving and died. When we went to get his belongings out of his truck, in the cassette player, he was listening to Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell. That's what was playing when he died. I still have that cassette and listen to it often. So when I hear Meatloaf, I smile and say, love you, Uncle Maurice. So and shout out to Uncle Maurice.
It became nice at the end.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Although I will say this song is not on Bad Out of Hell. This is a different,
Yeah.
it's a different
He's
album.
do you think he made this comment on every single Meatloaf song on YouTube?
That's a very very good possibility. And there was a reply actually. Mr. Magoo replies to that comment. Sounds like your uncle went out with style. If I could choose the soundtrack of my death, this song would feature heavily.
You only get one song. You don't get a whole album.
Alive. No.
I mean, I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's just very funny to be like, this song would feature heavily in my death. Like, I don't really want to be thinking about that, you know. Funeral plans, sure. But
it is funny that Mr. Magoo saw this comment and was like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Fucking Uncle Maurice, he gets it.
That guy died in style.
There's a bunch of ways to read this, but this is how I've chosen to read it. Basically, Jimenez Torero from 1 month ago. I do everything for you, Dad!
Was that the end of the comment?
That's it.
I do everything for you, Dad.
I think that's how it's maybe supposed to be read, is
But
like...
I won't get a job.
I also love the name, basically Jimenez Torero. Like, I'm, mostly him.
Is it Jimenez or is it Jimenez?
Or Jimenez, sorry. I don't know. I'm from Alabama. Jimenez Torero. Vain Bad Kitty X from 2 weeks ago. Very first song my daughter ever heard. I sung it to her while I gave birth to her.
Oh my!
She is now 26, and this is still one of her favorite songs, which
Wait. So back up. So he in the delivery room.
Yes, Vain Bad Kitty, as the child is exiting the birth canal,
She's going,
I would do anything for love.
The doctor's like, can you just please keep breathing?
Listen, lady.
Did they teach you this in Lamaze class? Because this is not what you're supposed to do.
Loaf Maz.
We like to have fun here. That's what we say after every pun.
Yeah, I just love the idea of someone who's, it's just like all, she's got that, what do they call that shot they give you in the back?
Epidural.
Yeah, she got the epidural. She's all fucked up and anything for love. She's just doing karaoke.
Jesus, nurse, how much did you give her?
She doesn't even stick to it. She's like, I'm just a poor boy. Nobody loves me.
You just listen to the classics.
Yeah, when I give birth, I'm going to go, unbreak my heart.
I think it'd be a better world if we all partied like that.
If I ever have a baby, I'm going to bring in a tablet to the room and make my wife watch Run Tell Dat by Martin Lawrence.
I stole it from Movie Gallery just for you, baby.
And it'll still be one of my son's favorite movies.
Portia Poppy from 3 weeks ago. Some days I just pray for silence. One of my favorite songs. VH1, we miss you.
This is the type of normie VH1 music they would play all the time.
This is a pop-up video for sure.
But then it says, VH1, we miss you, September 2020. So, just letting you know, like signing a guest book, this is when I popped in to say
VH1
this.
totally dead?
No. They don't. I don't think they play videos, but they play like "I Love New York" and or
I love the 80s.
What? No. Well, yeah, that. I'm sure they have the reality shows. That's where. That's where Ray J.
You're
Loving
right.
Basketball.
They did start
all
getting
that.
a bunch of that shit.
Yeah, so they're still around. They're not playing this and Babylon by David Gray every hour of every day like they used to, but
Fucking Viacom. Come on. Go back to the classics.
Blue Lily 40 from 1 month ago. Mr. Loaf has such a distinctive, powerful voice. I really enjoy his music. I just wanted to include that because he called him Mr. Loaf.
Mr. Loaf. Sing to me, Mr. Loaf.
His Christian name, Meat Loaf.
Robert Seymour from 1 month ago. She was in love like me. Maybe we were crazy. Man, when you have true love, love, true love.
Oh, okay.
This person's in love.
That person was...
This guy's about to get in a car
I
crash.
was about to say, that's Uncle Maurice as he's passing out behind the wheel. He did way too much fucking oxy. He's just, love, sweet love. Am I on Interstate 40? Yes. Do I care my eyes are closed? No.
It's like, I'm going to stop at Love's Truck Stop. It's never made the exit.
I'm going to finally get that GoDaddy jacket that I've always had my eye on. But first, let me type this comment. Beverly Kamrowski from 2 days ago. I love it. I just wish some fucking honest guy would sing this to me.
Damn, she's been wrong. She was recently wrong.
Yeah.
I got a couple more. Walter Moore from 1 month ago, and I have no clue what this means. Good morning, everyone working at Amazon. I hope y'all enjoy this beautiful day and great music.
He's just having a good day.
Was that on Amazon Day?
I don't know. I want to think that Walter Moore is the Michael Scott of some Amazon fucking call center and their factory. It's just like, we're going to listen to Meatloaf today and you're going to love it. And everyone just wants to kill him. Let's see. This is Kenny Vaughter from 1 week ago. And Kenny Vaughter, by the way, this is him making his second appearance on the show. You may remember him from Godsmack's Crying Like a Bitch from Corona Diaries number 85. He says, they spent $900 decillion to have me sleeping in my truck. Kenny Vaughter. So there's a lot of truck sleeping happening across the board here.
I mean, if you're
strange.
still into Meatloaf at this point, you're probably living in your car for sure.
Meatloaf is.
Yeah, what's Meatloaf up to?
Well, he was on The Apprentice. I think he got fired by Donald Trump. That was the last time I saw him.
He's an actor, right?
Well, he's like... I mean,
he's been an actor.
He's been an actor, yeah. But I think he's like pretty sure he's a Trump guy.
He's in a great episode of The Outer Limits.
Oh, yes. I forgot he was in the goddamn Outer Limits. Yeah. Hell yeah. He's getting Rocky Horror, obviously. You know,
Yeah.
he's got a long history of fun, spooky stuff.
Where I knew him.
And finally, Johnny Craig from 1 month ago. This reminds me of an old girlfriend I had years ago. Big mistake on my half, definitely. Even the girlfriend I got is just not the same.
Ooh.
LOL. My dad said this years ago. He said, "You would regret it." And boy, I did.
Damn.
That's with being young. R.I.P. Dad. Should have listened.
Wow.
Wait, did his dad run off with his first girlfriend? I don't
know.
I don't understand.
It's a very tangled knot here that he's tied, but
Yeah.
I think he is low-key being like, I fucking hate this bitch in the next room, and I wish I had Cindy back.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
But then there's some dad shit woven in there, too, and it's making the whole thing weird.
He fucking, this song was a trigger for him.
Oh, yeah.
To relive a lot of embarrassing, shameful moments in his life.
At some point, his dead dad was just like, if you let that girl go, you're crazy. And then he did, and now he's like, damn, Dad.
I thought
right.
when the guy started out the comment with, my uncle died, this beat it. This beat the start.
And that. Anything for love. That is, I would do anything for love. Parentheses, but I won't do that. By loaf, comma, meat. That is our jam of the day, and that is our program. Sam, where can people find you on the internet?
Watching the Outer Limits episode with Meatloaf,
Yeah.
which is a great episode. At Slam Harder on Twitter.
Hell yeah. Courtney, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter, Courtnikovia.
She's got 7 followers from this podcast.
Hell yeah.
Shout out to all my new friends. that
All
She
you can
right.
needs
follow.
more. Fucking give her a follow.
Yeah, give her a follow. Great follow.
Wait, her account's on private right now. Never mind.
Well, I'll accept you.
Yeah, just you all know the secret hand sign. Just
Yeah.
flash the gang sign, and you'll all know. I was always jealous of people that do the blood thing where they twist their fingers to say blood. That was so
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
I could never make my fingers do that.
Cooper
Anyway.
can do it. We should
Oh,
get him
really?
to take a picture of it one day so he gets murdered by the real Bloods.
Yeah.
That does seem like a prerequisite of growing up in L.A. You learn how to do that. Yeah, the one in Alabama was 8-ball, baby.
Nice.
Yeah. I realize no one can see this except for you. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at Rivers Langley. The best way to support the show, patreon.com/thegoodspod. Second best way to support this show, you can go to Apple Podcast, rate, review, and subscribe. Show the attitude of gratitude. And check me out on Swatches and Boomboxes, talking Stankonia extensively. And we'll see you next time. Oh, hello. In order to talk about our spooky selection for today, I'm going to start by taking us back to the pre-Christian era of Northern Europe. The earliest records of the Germanic people and their religious traditions were taken down by the historians of the conquering Romans that entered this area around the end of the 1st century. There's no telling how old what we now refer to as Norse mythology was when the tales of Odin and Thor and the rest were finally written down by Italian guys like Tacitus. What we can be fairly certain of is the popularity of one folk tale that found its way into almost every quote-unquote barbarian area of Europe, from France to Norway to Germany, and that is the legend of De Wilde Jagd, the Wild Hunt. Call this one of the original urban legends. Goes like this. A friend of a friend was out in a field late one night when he heard a great rumbling up in the sky. All of a sudden, the entire horizon exploded as the great god Odin and his mighty hounds led the souls of the dead on horseback as they thunder across the sky in pursuit of some unseen game. According to the various versions of the tradition, seeing the wild hunt could be an omen that presages an upcoming war, a plague, or some other kind of mass death. It could also mean death for the person who sees it, and thereupon is compelled to join the wild hunt. Jacob Grimm, one half of the famous Grimm brothers, probably did the most to popularize the myth of De Wilde Jagd when he published his own spiced-up version in Deutsche Mythology, his comparative mythology book from 1835. Folklorists are still mad at the Grimm brothers. It's a whole thing. I won't go into it. Instead, let's jump ahead to the end of the 19th century in the American West. Nowadays, if anybody says the phrase Western music, they usually say the word country in front of it. But there was a time before the record business heads in New York created the term country and Western, when Western was its own fairly distinct genre, and within that genre was the subgenre of cowboy songs. Men who worked long days on the range would wind down those days sitting by campfires and swapping stories and songs about hardship faced upon the trail. Since pianos were too heavy to lug around on horseback, this is when Spanish and Mexican-made acoustic guitars really took off with cowboys on the western plains. Even today, the first chords you learn on a guitar are still called cowboy chords for this reason. The distinct yips and yells that cowboys would holler at one another to communicate across vast spaces while on a cattle drive also got incorporated into these songs. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. The cowboy singing tradition would probably have remained fairly localized to the American West if not for the invention of mass media. In 1925, Carl T. Sprague of Texas recorded the cowboy song, When the Work's All Done This Fall. That song would go on to sell 1 million copies. All of a sudden, the simple, 3-chord cowboy songs had become a national sensation. But that was nothing compared to what would happen 2 years later when Warner Brothers changed everything with the world's first sound film. All of a sudden, those great silent westerns were deader than Wild Bill, and the new westerns were going to need a soundtrack. Films depicting singing cowboys like Gene Autry and Roy Rogers made the music extremely popular throughout the 1930s and 40s, and it has had frequent revivals ever since. Shout out to Tim Blake Nelson as Buster Scruggs on Netflix. This rise in popularity of cowboy songs led many Americans to believe the Old West was nothing but singing and cattle calling, and when they wanted to visit those places, they wanted and expected what they would call a quote-unquote authentic experience. That brings us to the writer of today's spooky song. Stan Jones was born in 1914 and grew up on a ranch in Cochise County, Arizona. He paid his way through college competing in rodeos. He worked as a forest firefighter and then as a park ranger in Death Valley National Park. It was during this time Stan also began playing guitar and writing songs as a hobby. While speaking to tour groups in Death Valley, Stan would sing and play guitar for the tourists using one of his originals as a demonstration of the cowboy singing tradition. That song was called Ghost Riders in the Sky. In the song, Stan combined Grimm's tale of De Wilde Jagd with some Apache Indian traditions that he'd learned growing up in Arizona. Specifically that the souls of the dead would go up to live as spirits in the sky. Stan wove together the two powerful images into a moralizing narrative about a sinner cowboy witnessing the damned souls of his ilk that came before, stampeding across the sky in their own version of the wild hunt as they try to catch the devil's herd of steer. At the end of the song, one of the ghouls tells the sinner cowboy to change his ways or else he'll have to join De Wilde Jagd. The image is plenty spooky, and it's a song that sounds as ancient as the prairie itself, and decidedly not just something a guy named Stan wrote to impress tourists, even though that's exactly what it is. Stan Jones recorded the song himself in 1948 before handing it off to megastar Burl Ives, who recorded it the next year. The song stayed on the charts for 6 weeks in 1949, and suddenly Ghost Riders was off to the races. This song became an instant standard of the newly minted country and western genre. I'd venture to say that almost any player of country or folk music at least knows the tune. There are over 50 documented recorded covers of this song, and no matter how you dress it up, the song is always reliably great. There's an incredibly cheesy 60s version of it by Tom Jones on YouTube that you just gotta see. Dick Dale and the Ventures both did badass surf rock instrumental versions of the song. Debbie Harry did a super fun trance version in the late 90s. It's also been recorded internationally in over 18 different languages. No doubt about it, this is a spooky song that people know, and choosing my favorite from a bajillion versions is hard, so I'm just going to keep it simple. From Atlanta, Georgia, this is Johnny Seay with his 1961 version of today's spooky selection, Ghost Riders in the Sky.
An old cowpoke went riding out one dark and windy day. Upon a ridge he rested as he went along his way. When all at once a mighty herd of red-eyed cows he saw, plowing through the ragged skies and up a cloudy draw. Yippee-yi-yi. Their brands were still on fire and their hoofs were made of steel. Their horns were black and shiny and their hot breath he could feel. A bolt of fear went through him as they thundered through the sky, for he saw the riders coming hard and he heard their mournful cry. Yippee-yi-yi. Faces gawked, their eyes were blurred, and shirts all soaked with sweat. They're riding hard, the kids had heard, but they ain't caught 'em yet. 'Cause they've got to ride forever on that range up in the sky, on horses snorting fire. Ride on, hear their cry. Yippee-yi-yi. As the riders loped on by him, he heard one call his name. If you want to save your soul from hell, riding on a range, then cowboy, change your ways today, or with us you will ride, trying to catch the devil's herd across these endless skies.